Woman was asked to change her clothes. Crew removes her from flight anyway. The woman's name is Harriet, and she's a makeup artist. After months of juggling work and childcare, Harriet needed a break. She decided to let her hair down and let the sun hit her skin. That is why she opted for a more liberal kind of dressing. Harriet admits that she doesn't show off her skin while at home, but this was a holiday and she wanted a break. Harriet was getting comfortable with the holiday. Being in a new place meant she could walk down the beach in her bathing suit. She wanted to relax, have fun with friends, and get away from the idea of worrying about what other people were thinking. The holiday destination was Malaga, which is a city in southern Spain. The excellent tourist hotspot is situated on Costa del Sol, which translates to Coast of the Sun. The name should give you an idea of why the destination is popular with British travelers who look forward to sunny beaches all year round. While the UK is cold, Spain is a pretty hot country. Spanish skies are blue, unlike UK skies that are gray. British beaches are beautiful but unsuitable for sunbathing. In Malaga, you can lie on the sand the whole day. Harriet was convinced that this was the perfect holiday destination. Harriet had an excellent time relaxing with her friends and away from life stressors. Eventually, the vacation came to a close and she had to return home. Although Spain was perfect, Harriet was already missing her children and couldn't wait to land in England. She packed her suitcase alongside the gifts she had bought for her family members and friends. As it is expected of any traveler, Harriet checked in herself and the baggage too. Harriet arrived at the duty-free store, which is as fun as the vacation considering how much she loves shopping. She spent some time there checking out expensive clothes, magazines, and perfumes. Eventually, she added more gifts for her family and friends. After all the hustle and bustle, Harriet was exhausted and couldn't wait to sit in the aircraft and start a journey home. She hoped that she would watch a movie as she longed to see her kids dearly. Harriet narrated how standing at the airport lounge with other passengers that had children increased her desire to get home. She couldn't wait to give her family a big hug upon arrival. The attendant went through her passport details and wished her a safe flight. Her home was now a flight away. Harriet made her way down the tunnel with the other passengers. What she didn't know was that her happiness was about to get cut short. There was an air hostess by the airplane door who greeted everyone as she welcomed them on board. However, when it was Harriet's turn, the stewardess's smile disappeared and her eyes grew wide. Harriet was shocked and wondered what she had done wrong. Her heart fell and she started getting scared. Did they suspect her of doing something? All she needed was to board the plane and go home. Was there a chance that she had been mistaken for another person? All the same, she continued to her seat, but the stewardess stopped her. Harriet couldn't understand what the problem was. She waited by the door and the cabin crew talked to each other in whispers. By now, our dear passenger is stranded by the door and she cannot hear what the crew members are saying. The first stewardess that had served Harriet explained that there was an issue with her dressing. It turns out that they couldn't allow her to board the plane in that kind of dressing. The hostess tried to cover Harriet with her hands and said, "You cannot get into my plane dressed like that." That's when all hell broke loose. They started arguing because Harriet didn't understand what the issue was. The stewardess said that some passengers had expressed concerns with her dressing. Harriet felt that the crew was lying to her. How come someone complained yet she hadn't boarded the plane? Who did she bother? By now, Harriet was annoyed and embarrassed. In her view, nobody had the right to dictate what she should or shouldn't wear. The harassment was far-fetched. All she wanted was to go home and wasn't cut out for this drama. So Harriet decided to wear a sweater so that at least she could cover up like the stewardess requested. However, she couldn't help but feel ashamed. The aircraft crew had embarrassed her in front of a lot of people. After wearing the sweater, she walked gracefully to her seat, but she still felt unsettled. As Harriet settled on the plane, she wasn't happy. There's no way she would forget how humiliated she was. It wasn't customary for her to be treated the way the crew had done. That made her angrier, and she knew she needed to say something. So when the hostess passed by her seat, Harriet raised her voice. She expressed how angry the treatment had made her. Why would they choose to make her feel cheap in the presence of all those strangers? Yet she had paid a ticket like everybody else. What was the issue with her clothing? Yet everyone else in the airport had allowed her to pass. Harriet realized that the airplane's crew members were still talking about her. At this point, it was evident that this was a personal matter. Otherwise, what was the issue even after covering up? She was sick of feeling like she was always on the wrong, even when she wasn't. Harriet was shocked when an air stewardess approached her and told her to leave the plane. She was furious. How could they make her leave the plane even after buying a ticket and checking in? Did these people understand how much she was missing her kids? Within no time, the pilot was involved in the disagreement. Harriet could see him conversing with the lead hostess. After consulting for a while, they made her leave the aircraft. Harriet had never been in a similar situation, and by now she was stunned. She walked down the aisle in awe. Everyone was staring at her. None of the crew members were willing to listen to her plea. Their decision was final, and the plane didn't leave until Harriet left. They let her outside and slammed the door. Reality struck Harriet when she saw a suitcase being removed from the plane. The severity of the situation was slowly sinking in, and she began to cry. Never had Harriet felt this humiliated. Everyone around her was happy and excited to travel to their destinations. Nothing made sense to her at this point. As if what Harriet had been through wasn't enough, she saw police officers approaching her. Now she started feeling scared. Her disappointment of not seeing her children wasn't the end. The uninformed police that approached her explained that the crew alerted them that Harriet was disruptive. As she was waiting to talk to them, Harriet decided that if she ever got home, she would file a complaint. The company had disappointed her, and there was no way she would travel with them again. For now, she had to deal with the officers. The police officers were on her side. At least there was some good news. They couldn't understand why the stewardess had removed her from the flight. When the police established that Harriet wasn't a threat, they allowed her to go. That was a relief, but Harriet was still in a difficult situation. Now she was stuck in a foreign country with nowhere to go and unsure of what to do. She walked to the main airport area and approached the customer service desk. Harriet explained everything that had happened. She needed to get home desperately, but didn't know how. Since she was on vacation, there wasn't much money left in her account, and affording a new ticket was challenging. After explaining the situation, the customer service personnel understood where she was coming from. However, they weren't in a position to purchase another ticket. According to the policies, it was her responsibility to get another ticket. Harriet knew her best bet would be to buy another ticket, so she inquired how much that would cost her. She was told that the total cost would amount to £149. Harriet couldn't believe that the company had all the nerve to ask for all that money after the ill treatment. Since she was desperate to get home, she decided to part with the amount. She had been through a lot of struggle for a day and wanted all of that to end. In her view, the treatment was unfair and the company had no right to ask for this money. When Harriet inquired about the time of her flight, the answer she received left her astonished. It turns out that there weren't any aircraft flying until the next day. Harriet wanted to burst into tears all over again and wished that this nightmare would end. Harriet had nowhere to stay for the night. She had already checked out of the hotel and couldn't afford to stay another night. With no other choice, she opted to sleep at the airport. That was the longest night in Harriet's life. She spent it on the cold floors of the Malaga airport. With everything that was on her mind, catching sleep was difficult. The floor was hard and thousands of people were always moving around. The speakers made announcements all the time. Besides that, Harriet couldn't relax because she had to watch her belongings. Eventually, she got through the miserable night, and a new dawn brought forth new opportunities. When the next day came, Harriet was careful not to attract attention. She was angry over the previous day and understood that things could get worse. All the same, she was yet to comprehend why her outfit had caused all the drama. This time around, she got home safely and reunited with her family. The ordeal the company had put her through was an unforgettable one. Harriet was sure that she would never fly with that airline. However, the airline had a different tale to tell. According to the airline, Harriet was on the wrong. She wore a low-cut shirt without a bra on. The crew claimed that they could see everything and that the other passengers with kids on board were uncomfortable. Harriet denied this narrative. She said that she had covered enough and nobody had any issue with her dressing. Besides, what concerned them? She had every right to dress whichever way she pleased. Besides her dressing, the airline said that her attitude caused her trouble as well. The crew had no issue allowing her on board after covering up, but she was too aggressive. The second narrative changes the whole story. According to the law, disruptive passengers aren't allowed in planes because they might cause trouble during the flight. However, it turns out that Harriet isn't the first victim of an airline taking exception to the passengers' dressing. Shoshana is a 28-year-old lady that hails from Australia. She also had a bad experience when she was traveling because of her dressing. Shoshana boarded the flight to get to her mother, who was hospitalized in another city. A stewardess walked to her and said, "Do you see any man walking around with their shirts off?" Shoshana was dressed in a shirt that was showing part of her stomach. The airplane crew member's comment angered her. A woman that was sitting behind her felt sorry for poor Shoshana and offered her a jacket. Shoshana wasn't willing to let the ill treatment pass. That is why she wrote a complaint letter to the airline addressing her complaint. Here is the reply she received. "You are entitled to receive professional services when you fly with us. We apologize if this isn't what you received." Shoshana was displeased with the reply. She felt that the airline should have made more effort. They even offered her a $50 gift voucher, but Shoshana thought that it was an understatement, especially considering what had transpired. Another similar case was the one for Emily. She was 21 years old and was traveling to Tenerife with a few friends. She was asked to cover up with her jacket. The pilot refused to take off unless she complied. Emily became emotional when the pilot talked to her over the plane's broadcast system. She stood up and asked the passengers if any of them were offended, but nobody said anything. The experience left her shaken, but eventually she arrived at her destination.